I can't stop me now. You 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 can't stop me now. Fight. You can't stop me now. 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 Can't stop me now. You 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 can't stop me now. Fight. You can't stop me now. Lights out, walking with my head down, head up in some red clouds. That's what you believe about me. I don't mean to be let down, but you best believe the fire's on its way now. Play dead, that's what you've been hoping. Told 'em I won't show, and they don't need to worry about me. But the quiet always comes first, and the devil brings the lightning and the thunder. Take a shot, come see what you made of. 'Cause fired up 'cause you know, 'cause I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. And I'm fired up 'cause you know, and I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. Shut down, turning all the lights up, calling me a writer. Thought you got the best of me. Thought you had me nailed down, but you'll never get the keys or the crown. 'Cause there's something that you don't know about, something you ain't heard about, never really got about me. I'ma fight until the bell sounds, and you don't wanna get me in the ring now. So take a shot, come see what you made of. 'Cause I'm fired up 'cause you know, 'cause I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me. And I'm fired up 'cause you know, and I can't, won't stop, won't let go. No surrender, even on my knees, 'cause there's nowhere better for me.
A new era begins in iRacing. $26 drivers, $25,000. This is the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. The party never stops with the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. This is the Autódromo José Carlos Pache. This is Interlagos. It is arguably the greatest caldera of sim racing that you will find. This is a wonderful circuit with wonderful drivers, and this is the place to be today. My name's Jake Sperry. You've got Peter Mackay. You've got Kenneth Bueno. We have got action all throughout this one. And Peter, this is a championship where after 1/5 of the season, it's pretty much open season. 1 point splits the top two, and this has been all about consistently finding a result in such a competitive championship.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to see so far, Jake. I mean, really, it's Martin van Lozenord against the world, and the world being the Apex Racing team. They've got a quartet of drivers all up at the front who are all there up in the standings as well. And Martin's got his hands full with those Apex cars in the races so far, but we'll see what happens tonight in Interlagos. It's a very different circuit.
Different circuit, and Kenneth, it's one that we haven't really seen over the course of this series. It's our third different continent in 3 races, and on top of that as well, you marry into the fact that you've got a lot of elevation change today. Drivers are going to be dealing with forces that they haven't necessarily dealt with this season.
Well, if drivers are already accustomed to sort of the elevation changes at Spa, where they're going to have a lot of fun here at Interlagos. And also to note, this is the shortest track that we visited so far throughout the first 3 races. So you've got big tracks in Watkins Glen, a big track in Spa, and tonight you cut it down, you make it more twisty, and that's what you bring in Interlagos. These drivers are going to have a very different challenge on their hands. Whatever you got used to in the first 2 races, it's gone out the window.
Out the window and out of sight. But let's get a little bit of an understanding of what makes this circuit so special. Of course, Peter, this is Interlagos. This is a track which pretty much its name writes itself in legacy.
It does. They've been racing here since 1940, and the circuit has really changed as little as possible ever since, but it still hosts the very pinnacle of motorsport in the Formula One World Championship. They are racing mad in Brazil, and there's an annual festival here at Sao Paulo. A lot of elevation change in this circuit as well, and as Kenneth mentioned, quite a lot of twists and turns as well. Watch out for wheel-to-wheel contact in that very tricky technical section in the middle of the circuit, and also the draft coming out of the last corner and the long drag towards the start-finish line.
That's going to be key. Talk about legends in sim racing who have gone in. One of the big components of Brazilian sim racing is Rubens Barrichello. His home when he was growing up was just a stone's throw away from this circuit. And as someone who has been fantastic for sim racing as an ambassador, this is a circuit that would love to repay that respect here today in these beautiful Dallara IR01s. But this is where you have to try and be very, very careful, Kenneth, today, because you know that this run through the opening section, you've done it a million times before. If you ever aspire to be open wheel, this is one of the tracks you first cut your teeth at. This is a place where if you get through the first 3 corners, you're still not out of the woods. You need a lap or 2 to settle down at this place.
And that's exactly how gritty this track is, Jake, just how wild it can get. And as Peter mentioned, these cars are wide, so you may see some wheel banging across each and every corner of this track when they're going side by side, when they build drafts and they go on the inside and go on the outside. when they try to make themselves space in the corner, there's not going to be as much space to really make up for how much they're trying to gain. So it's going to result in a lot of drivers getting real close with each other, getting real intimate here in Brazil. That's going to make for a fantastic evening of racing.
And it's this intimacy that we have seen so far and some wonderful action over the first 2 rounds. But I think we're just about ready to get ourselves to a gridding process. Martin van Lozenor, the championship leader, takes the pole position, and the winner last time out joins him on the front. It's Michele Costantini. You've got Tamas Simon, great qualifying from him. Starts P5 here today on the grid. He's got Johan Hart alongside in 6th as they go through. Przemysław Lemonek going to look for a good opportunity today. Marcus Jensen will be disappointed down there in 9th position. Great qualifying as well from Kane Halliburton. P12, expect to see the racecraft car moving up the order in this field. Brian Lockwood there just behind him as well. You've got the likes of Jarl Tayin looking to make progress through the field. Jose Soria is going to be hoping for a good opportunity. Row 9, bit of work to do there for the 25 machine. And then we look down the likes of Marcos Nunez. Alejandro Del Campo is down there on top of that. Cedric Beale back there in 24th position. And the big car to keep an eye out on will be that R8G machine. Florian Lebigre is going to be a huge option today. He looked really quick in practice, but did not get the laps together in qualifying. He will start from the back of the grid. We are looking at this with so much anticipation. This is a track here in the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship that just screams out, if you can take this one, then you are well on your way towards a championship challenge. And we welcome everybody who is here today watching some brilliant action today. This is what sim racing is all about, and we welcome you into the party as we take a lovely look at this grid. You can see those drivers who are starting from about 5th or 6th. They're going to have a slight advantage. They're on the flat compared to the uphill start the drivers on the front 2 rows of the grid are going to have here today. Will that prove to be a big advantage on the runs up towards that center S? Turns 1 and 2, which descends down the hill. We are getting ready. It is 51 laps today around this beautiful track. And this is where you've got to make your statement of intent known. Get yourself ready, because we got a green flag and we are underway here with a great start from the 2nd row of the grid. Van Lozenor is going to be under pressure. That's Peter Berryman, who got a great launch as they slide through turn numbers 1 and 2 for the first time. The center S split strategy today is going to be interesting on top of that. They all managed to get through quite nicely. You can see a few drivers a bit slow at the back, but immediately onto the Rata Aposta. Drivers looking to try and settle themselves out here at this point, Kenneth. Give themselves every opportunity that they can.
They definitely are going to do so, and especially when we get to the tight, twisty portions of this racetrack, that's where these drivers are going to start to make their work. They're going to start to make it profitable, gain some positions as quickly as they can, because they know how tight it is. I watch everybody just sail in, packed in together like dominoes, squished up together, going into each and every corner. But so far, everybody's still single file. But it's been some trouble near the rear of the field, but it's mostly clean.
It has been mostly clean, Pete. This is exactly what we want. A bit of 2 wide there we just saw in the back of shot off of the exit, but it has been single file running, as we see there. That is Valentin Mandanak there being chased down by Marcus Jensen in the Team Redline car. They take the rise then for the first time and up to finish the lap. Already we got a bit of 2 wide action here, trying to get itself sorted, and it's for the race lead. Here comes Peter Berryman trying the outside. It's not going to work right now, but this is the time where, if you want to make intentions known, first couple of laps, it's going to give you a chance. And you know what? He's going to go for it again, immediately to the outside, trying to make this move. Has Peter Berryman in the 50 got this sorted? He's on the wrong track if he wants to get it sorted, but what a move around the outside to the point.
Yeah, that was pretty brave there from Peter Berryman, but he pulled it off beautifully as well. And he obviously wants to control this race as Van Lozenord goes a little bit wide, and oh dear me, Costantini barges his way through. So Van Lozenord has to give best, and Ben Fuller in there in 4th as well. So once again, is Van Lozenord versus the 4 Apex cars running in 2 different liveries, the white and blue of Apex Racing Team and the black and silver of STK Gaming.
Yes, and this has been a crucial opening stage for Berryman and for Costantini. Exactly what they've wanted to see. Get themselves ahead of Van Lozenord early and put some pressure on. Yellow compound, medium tyres for Johan Hart from just outside of Montpellier in France, Ballarec-le-Bain, and he is going to be searching to go through. Now, tyre strategy is going to be a very key thing as Berryman gets the bonus point for fastest lap in this race on lap 2 of this event. But this is the sort of time which you say, okay, now you've got to go and get that result. Now you've got to get as much as you can out of this stage. And Kenneth, strategy is going to be all important because we think it's split today.
And before we started this race, we kind of had it in our minds that with this track being a lot shorter, with it being more twistier, and of course with the cooler track temps that we saw going into practice, compared to the other 2 races that we saw to open the season, obviously the different tire compounds are gonna mean a lot. And there's been some conversation around starting on the mediums or maybe figuring out a medium tire compound at some point in this race, whether it's the second stint, whether it's to start the race, or whether it's the entirety of the 51 laps here from Interlagos. These drivers are definitely getting a feel for the tire compounds. It wasn't a conversation in the first 2 races, but today it all changes, and that means that the teams are hard at work.
They are hard at work. The battle for third, you can see on screen right now, Van Lozenoord being clawed back in. Here comes Johan Hart looking to make hay while the sun shines. Looks to the inside here at the Senna S through turn 1. Van Lozenoord's going to stick it on the outside, get the drive through turn number 2 and through the curve of the Sol. That is a wonderful defense, but it's only premature because you've got that run again. Desquita de Largo pulls over to the outside. We know the draft is strong in these machines. Hearth gets himself down there. Look at that, trying to sneak through. That's Ben Fuller trying to get himself an opportunity, and they will battle and duel wheel to wheel. Tamas Simon in the box seat trying to get himself into play. Little bit of a nudge as they go up the hill, but no chances there at the Laranjinia corner. They have to just stay patient here. And again, Van Lozenoord is dropping backwards, Peter, off of the start. He is not loving the yellow walled mediums.
Well, I think it's more he's getting roughed up a little bit as well. So Peter Berryman and Michele Costantini have a perfect opportunity here to try and break away. Johan Hart, he's kind of in the middle of no man's land now already as Van Lozenoord drops back into the clutches of Ben Fuller and Tamas Simon as well, who was so impressive at Spa. So we'll see if Berryman and Costantini break away from Hart or whether they form a leading trio. But there is an opportunity here to see a very rare breakaway in this Force Dynamics Dallara World Championship.
And that breakaway we are seeing as we take a look at Michele Costantini. Second position with Peter Berryman at this stage, making that charge down the backstretch in towards Desquita de Largo, lap 5 of 51 out there on the board, and has the purple check next to his name that says that he is the fastest driver with the fastest lap. He's got himself 1 bonus point. He already has 1 fastest lap to his name this season. Took that at the opener at Watkins Glen. There is Tamas Simon, and you can see in front of him there, Kenneth, that is one Martin Van Lozenoord. So through, as we were looking away, went Ben Fuller. And just behind there's the lunge down the inside. That's Matteo Ugolotti there, getting the pass on San Koitert.
And these passes are going to be made crucially throughout this portion of the field because we already saw top 2 have already broken themselves away, so they're kind of in their own business. They're kind of working their own start of the race, but these guys are packed in with everybody else, so they want to get away from these guys as quickly as possible, and that's why you're seeing a lot of the switcheroos being made, especially in the latter half of the top 10 with the Ugolotti. There's a battle between Puiter and Jarl Tayan in the middle of turn 1 to the Senna S's, so position is going to matter here, but it seems as though some drivers already getting a good feel for these cars, especially on the mediums early. They're liking the comfortability.
Yep, here's the battle then that we see. This is Ugolotti's view as he's got it covered for the moment here at the front, but you'll be looking behind and you can see just how much force there is going through his wheel right now, how much he's trying to get as much as he can. The camera's literally shaking here, Peter.
Yeah, the direct drive wheel technology is something that we'll see kind of up and down the grid here at World Championship level, and it when it's turned up, some drivers like it, you know, at different levels of ferocity. You can customize it, but my word, when it's at full chat, when you're going it, if you're unlucky enough to have an accident, you need to take your hands off the wheel because the shock that can come through is absolutely astounding.
It is astounding, and we have seen some astounding action in the early stages, nice and clean, just how we like it here with our sim racing here today. But as they make that charge through onto that front stretch once again, another fastest lap for Michele Costantini, 108.520. The run down the hill through the Senna S and all of that pressure that comes into play just starts to be lifted there for the TQ Engineering driver in the number 98. He's trying to bridge the gap here, Kenneth, over towards Tamash Shimon, knowing that 7th position right now is the best that he has done all season. He wants a little bit more.
Definitely does, but at this point of the race, we're obviously going to be looking at 2 stops within this event in 51 laps. So obviously pit stops are going to matter with track position already. As you see a couple of battles near the rear of the field, that Zuba and the bigger Cortese and Del Campo already as there as well. But we're going to see these guys want to get as quickly as possible to the front of the field before the pit stops begin, because of the way that this track is a little bit shorter, gives more for distance to take over in terms of pit strategy. So position is going to be a part of this race. These drivers want all of it. These guys are certainly in a long line of cars right here, 4 abreast, almost to 5 with a couple cars in here as well. They just continue to run with each other for position, and they're not letting up at all.
They're not letting up here. Peter Zuber, of course, missed round 2 of the championship, looking to try and get his season back on track, and that is the 0-2 behind of Florian Lebegra, who's already up 8 places off the start. Shall we make it? You know, it was 7. Now this is going to make it 8. They're still battling, further in front through towards turn number 2. And as they charge forward, what a brilliant scrap this is between Przemysław Lemonek then, who's just ahead of Sam Kreutert there, with Mandanark and Marcus Jensen all in the group here. And this sort of forces here that we're looking at, Peter, that become really crucial, especially when you talk Force Dynamics as well and their center of rotation.
Yeah, Force Dynamics are a series sponsor here for the Dallara iRacing World Championship. Incredible equipment. They make proper motion simulators that you can have, which simulates the movement of a real racing car. They're based actually just near Watkins Glen, where we kicked off this season, and the level of technology in those systems, true G-force replication, continuous rotation, and a high rotation center as well. Very, very sophisticated technology. And give the folks at Force Dynamics a call, because if you want the ultimate in motor racing simulation to get as close as possible to what you'd see on the track, that's who you need to call.
Let's get a little look then at where we are headed and where we have been so far in the championship, as we get a little idea of this battle right now. Lemonek still holding off the position right now in the scrap for 9th place on track, but it's Interlagos here today, round 3 of the championship. Kenneth, round 4 could not be more different when it's going to be next week, because that is going to be Monza.
It is. Monza is a very unique track in its own right when we go over to Italy in 1 week time. Moving forward to a twisty track, then you go to a very straight field track. You're going to have a lot of long straightaways. You're going to have a lot of these very flat corners that take drivers kind of off guard instead of the elevation changes that we see here at Interlagos. And then comes the rest of the schedule. Silverstone, fantastic track as well. You look at Hockenheim, a very interesting German circuit. Road America, we come back to the United States, which with one of the national parks of speed, as they call it, over in the States. And then obviously to the rest of the schedule, Red Bull Ring, Suzuka, Hungaroring. It's a weird mix of tracks, but it's a certain unique element that gives these drivers a challenge and definitely keeps them on their toes.
Yeah, and on their toes they are at the moment. Great run actually there through turn 2 from Przemysław Lemonek. He's given himself the gap, and just behind you'll see the move. It's going to be Mandanark there trying to get through on Kreutert. He's not going to get the chance though through turn number 4. That chance then does not quite manufacture itself. What's interesting though is a lot higher up the order and the top 3 at this stage, Peter, because I'm keeping an eye on car number 90. That's Johan Hart in 3rd position. He's worked really hard on that opening stint to get himself back to the leading duo of Berryman and Costantini, as we have seen some wonderful action so far. But this group that we've been seeing on screen, this has been, again, just patience personified. Get yourself into a rhythm, and you're seeing here a couple drivers on that hard compound tyre. They're going to take themselves on fuel, not on tyres, through this race.
Yeah, there's a number of tyre strategies that we're likely to see. As Kenneth mentioned, we will see 2 stops. So there's lots of different ways you can put together that strategy, and yeah, this hard tire you're going to run right deep as long as you can. Maybe the drivers that are planning on doing a bit of fuel saving might run the hard tire, because the medium will not be able to make it.
There is David Toth, your biggest mover in the field. Started 25th, up into 14th. That's 11 places gained so far, and this is one of the reasons why David Toth here, Kenneth, is up there in the championship in 6th place. He's got 2 8th place finishes to his name, and the wannabe sim racing team driver is showing that he is all business today, just on the back now, fighting with Brian Lockwood.
He is all business, and for a driver on only in one team and being the only driver on that wannabe SRT team, it definitely means a lot to perform well and be consistent in the opening rounds of this race. And I think you guys have talked about it the past couple of races throughout, how much consistency matters in the point standings. And as Toth continues to work up the field, that's exactly what he needs to keep doing.
Livery number 3 out of 3 for James Pinsker, the man from Portsmouth, there with a very concentric style of delivery here today. You can get lost in that paint scheme quite a bit as it flies on around the circuit. Pinsker in a fight right now here, Peter, as we take a look. The aviators are still on. The high-vis jacket, though, has disappeared for this one. But he's fighting for a top 20 place here, and he's trying to get past Gio Cortese. A reminder that only the top 15 places here today are scoring points.
Yeah, you can just imagine him talk sort of Maverick and Goose level of aviators there as well. The mustache really on point as well. But jokes aside, James is a seriously quick driver, and actually I would say he's a little bit out of position at the moment. So watch for that very fluorescent car to head forward as well. That would not look out of place in Austin Power's apartment.
I would definitely agree. It wouldn't look out of place at all, and is the sort of design that you can see. Very much a case that if you close your eyes long enough, as we go back to the top 3 out there on track and how they have closed together, Costantini, Berryman and Harth together on circuit, trying to bring themselves into play. Just in the background, 4th and 5th started to get a little bit close as well. They're going to be trying to work out what do we need to do today in this race, Kenneth, because they know that they want to battle. They know they want the best result. And there is the look at 4th and 5th position. Ben Fuller and Martin van Lozenoord. Van Lozenoord trying to get himself back in. It's a poor start today from car 69, but a chance to move back up and recover it here on lap 13 of 51.
Yeah, it's still early in this race, so I figure if you're Lozenoord in this case, you're not going to start to panic because you know that there's still 2 pit stops ahead of the road, and especially if you can keep yourself in the draft, the fuel window is going to start to extend a little bit if you want to save, if you're the 69 in this case. So it's not the worst start, but he's still got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up to the top 3, which have really crunched it together. And got to give credit to Johan Hart for really picking up the pace the last couple times by, because he had a huge gap between himself and the top 2, and now he's right back to them and able to take the positions if he wants to.
Peter, I've been looking at these drivers going through towards Junsao, the junction corner, and they've been really giving as much as they can using all of that road. How important has it been for these drivers to know exactly where the limits is? As again, Johan Hart looks a little bit antsy stuck behind Peter Berryman, but he's using this now to save.
Well, the drivers do have a certain, we talked about this at Spa last week, the drivers do have a number of incident points that they can use as Jarl Tyen comes out from a relatively early pit stop, so maybe he's back timing to the end of the race possibly. But coming back to those incident points, those are basically the amount of times you can breach track limits. And coming out of Yongkao, that's certainly one place where you can do that. However, if you do breach track limits, you can obviously get a bit of an advantage by carrying more speed. And the only problem is, though, is this car has enormous amounts of torque. So if you can easily get the car lit up there on the curbs. No such problem for our leaders right now, but if you do stretch a little bit over, it's pretty slippy over there.
Yeah, we're going to take ourselves a little bit back here. This is Ben Fuller, who I think's dropped a little bit down the order. Let's see what's happened here. Go through the Stida de Largo, and he's just gone around and looped the back end. That is so easy to do in that section of road. He's fortunate there he hasn't stalled the car. He's got himself back going again at the cost of what looks to me to be 4 places. That is going to be very frustrating for the 55, whose season looks like, Kenneth, to be back on track after the jump start early on. Out of pits comes Ugolotti for TQ Engineering. He's the first real big stop that we saw. We saw Tyen come in earlier on, but the key here is that spin from Ben Fuller is indicative of how his season has started.
It definitely has. It's frustrating when something happens like that. First corner, it's a quick spin, but you know that your name in the track position, timing screen is going to start to plummet and plummet and plummet through the top 10. And for Fuller, he just needs to put himself back in, say, okay, made a small mistake. This race is not over. Still got a lot of work to do. I've still got some positivity left in this race, and as he's right in the middle of this battle, it may be a little hard to figure that way, but it could be better once we start to move into the pit strategies, which we've already seen Ugo Lotti and Ty and a couple others have hit pit road as well.
Just lost the position actually there to Marcus Jensen, the Danish driver, and it's a big queue into the pits then. Costantini in the pits with Berryman, with Haas, and I think what's been very surprising is how early everyone is coming in. Track temperature 31 degrees today, then it's only going to rise as they go forward. It's been a huge battle, and I tell you what, it's not necessarily the best choice that these drivers have made to come in. If you look at where they're going to come out, they're going to be right in the middle here, Peter, of a massive train of cars.
Yeah, I think those medium tyres have kind of reached their best at this point, and the Apex Racing crew, who had obviously had control of the race in that leading three at the front, well, I think they're maybe going to go for, well, we'll see what tyres they come out on, but clearly the mediums can't go much longer than 15 laps, so we should see the hard tyre at some point in this race.
Yeah, and it's this traffic that we're seeing, and it's also worth noting that Martin van Loosenhoorn is still on the lane. It's one of the fastest bits of braking you have to do. He is speeding on pit lane, and he is stuck there at this stage. Look, though, at the mess that they've all got to try and get through. They've got better tyres, yes, but they've got to pick them off one at a time. This is a huge moment of the race. Drivers who have stayed out a little bit longer, as your leader currently in this race is Przemysław Lemonek, this is the perfect time for them to try and get as much as they can, because our drivers are going to be stuck in effectively what seems like treacle, Kenneth.
It is definitely going to be tough. You see a couple drivers getting way close to the pit lane. Saw a couple hit pit road, but it was mostly that large split, Jake, that really mattered in the case that you're seeing a lot of these packs develop. It's the guys that went down pit road, the guys who decided to stay out. They're waiting for it to last a little bit longer. Then they come out in a big mix, and then all of a sudden it's all about, hey, I'm trying to get by you. I'm trying to get here. And it just gets very complicated in this case as the field continues to separate.
We're going to take a little look then as we go split screen. This is what happened to Kane Halliburton then going through at the Bico de Plateau, and it looks like he had a big bit of issues there, Peter. Got himself all shades of wrong, and it's going to be good. The top drivers, if you can see where they are right now, they are going to be out there on, we believe, the medium compound tyre. So they've gone medium to start the day, which is a bold strategy. You can see yellow wool medium tyres on as they go around. The crucial part, Peter, is that they are trying to go medium, as a few more drivers decide they want to try and pull off here to the side, give themselves opportunities to go and get things done. And the 68 car there, 66 car of Michele Costantini goes through. That's past Peter Zuber. That's now 9th place.
Yeah, that should work out pretty much perfectly, split into 3 equal stints. And what that also means as well is that you don't need to fill the tank up full either, because a full tank is at least 21 laps, maybe as much as 23 laps. So but they only need to run for 16, 17. So that strategy, don't forget how important that fuel fill time has an effect as well. So maybe is that going to be the optimal strategy? We will only know in 20 or 25 laps time.
Yeah, and just seeing a few more drivers come in. Alejandro Del Campo has just dived into the pits then in the number 21 car, so his stop has certainly been quite crucial. We are on board here at this stage, getting a really nice drive towards this Junsao section of track, and back up the hill again with Johan Haas trying to get himself as much as he possibly can. There is your leader, Przemysław Lemonek. Out there, he is 3 seconds to the good over the group, which has just seen a change for second position as Valentin Mandanak has just got through Kenneth on Marcus Jensen.
Well, just made the pass there, going on one of the corners, and these guys so far have gone a couple of laps. They've gone more than 19 laps in the stint, going for P20. It is 8 cars right now that have yet to pit on this cycle, so obviously we are expecting these guys to come down pit road sooner than later because of the pit window that we're seeing that's very marginalized here at Interlagos. So we are going to see these guys go down pit road. It's just a matter of when and who's going to gain positions on this end, because that's going to be crucial if you want to get out perfectly.
Yeah, and it's that perfect battle that we are going to be seeing here today. These drivers who are trying to get it as long as they can. We've got an expected window, yes, but if they are on those white-walled hard tyres, which you can see the drivers are, they're trying to get themselves as far as they can on fuel, Peter, and not on overall pace of the tyre. So they're going to try and go as long as they can, go to about lap 24, lap 25. They've got a huge advantage here in the fact that the three of Costantini, Berryman and Hart have been trying to damage their way through a lot of drivers here and there. But this group, they've been patient, and those who have been fuel saving, they have been looking to try and get themselves as long as they can, trying to get themselves to 23. That's what we think is the magic number today.
Yes, we believe so. And isn't this a fantastic format and wonderful proper Grand Prix racing where you can play games with the strategy? In this leading group, like you said, they had to be patient. They couldn't get excited early on, watching the Apex guys driving away on those softer, quicker medium tires. But these hards, they manage all the way through the stint. And is this going to be the optimal strategy? This is going to be proper tortoise and hare stuff throughout the rest of the race.
Certainly is here. We are, of course, on lap 20 of 51 as drivers now try and get themselves into play. This group is about 6 seconds ahead of Michele Costantini at this point in time, and that's from the back of the group to the front of that group behind, which contains the what we believe net race leader out there at this point. Again, a little bit of a focus behind. Effectively being left out in the wind right now is Valentin Mandanat. At this stage, the 46 machine, the young driver there, is trying to get as much as he possibly can out of this race. And you can see that there's a little bit of focus to try and get some moves. You've got Koiter there in third in the train, trying to get himself in. But the quiet two drivers that you need to focus on here, Kenneth, in this group, is Brian Lockwood and David Toth. Both of them have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we've seen these guys come back from at least beneath the top 10. Lockwood started in P13 to start this race. It was 25th starting position back for David Toth in the 8 machine. So they have done a fantastic job of clinching their way through the field. And now with a potential pit stop awaiting for them, they can gain some sort of ground and maybe make things better on their route to the front. You can see Michele Costantini. This should be the route, Jake, for net P1. They've got 6-lap old tires, so these guys have the freshest tires out of everyone in the field, so we should see the cycle happen sooner than later. We're just waiting for them to go down pit road, and speaking of which, 2 of them are already down.
Yeah, 2 of them decide, well, 3 of them. Lemonek from the race lead dives in, Jensen comes in, and Toth decides to make the stop then. Lap 21 going on to lap 22. That's when we see their call to dive down into the pit. There are the 3 that are trying to chase right now. Costantini, Berryman and Hart. But it's the driver behind them as Ben Fuller sets the fastest lap of the race in 11th position on the road right now, trying to recover his way through the field. Peter, Matteo Ugalotti's brought that gap right back down again. He's only 1.6 behind this group that is chasing.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if Ugolotti can get onto the tail of Johan Harth and Peter Berryman, well, you cannot attach to a faster train than that at this moment in the championship. And that we've seen how important the draft can be. Of course, not as important through the technical section in the middle of the circuit, but from the long drag out of Juncao up to Subida dos Boxes here, this is where you can get huge chunks of lap time in the draft.
Oh, you absolutely can. I'm just seeing a few drivers there suggesting that they're going to be pitting in. End of 22, 1, 2, 3, all dive in as we go and take a driver's eye perspective from Johan Hart, who is third in the train. No doubts that they're going to be taking the lead back again as they do so right now, but it's this battle of crews that you can see as they fly through the S's. You can see just how much wheel work, Kenneth, is having to be done here by Johan Hart as he's battling on every curb. He's dealing with some over-rotation. He's having to get the car back to center again.
And that's the thing that Peter mentioned a little bit earlier in this race, right? To the point that this car has so much horsepower and it has a lot of torque. So when you're trying to put the throttle in, you're trying to weave your way through the corners, right on the curb, getting on that apex. The car is going to want to upset. It's going to start to swivel left and right. It's going to start to get loose. It's going to start to push everywhere. And you're really going to have to work the wheel here, comparative to a lot of other tracks that we visit with this car and the first 2 races that we've seen in this series. Although Johan Hart is kind of fighting his wheel, it doesn't seem like he's struggling too much because he's kept himself well between these 3 cars that are obviously circled back to P1, P2, and P3 around the halfway mark of this race. So the setup is working for the Apex Racing driver. He's just waiting for the right moment to strike once we get to the second round of green flag pit stops.
That certainly seems the case then today, and I'm sure that all of that strategizing and leaving out Costantini in the wind is going to be profiteering for Peter Berryman, who knows that if he can just stay there, he's going to spend less time in that second stop in the lane and should be going through. By elements of that first stop, we should be expecting that in about 8 laps time there or thereabouts. That would be a rough ballpark figure that we could come up with off the top of our heads. Of course, we'll await any confirmations if we can get any communications to the team if they see any of that. But Peter, the key is going to be that they don't mind if it's 1, 2, and 3 for them at the moment, because the big fish in the pond right now, Martin van Lozenoord, he's all the way down in P21 right now.
Yeah, it's not been a good day at the office so far for Martin van Lozenoord, but do not write the Dutchman off. He's been so quick, sometimes the fastest driver over 1 lap, so do keep an eye out on him. But no, you're right, it has not started as planned. And although the very start of this second stint for this Apex Racing Team trio was a little bit difficult, now look at all that delicious clean air in front of them, and they can set the pace that they want to go at, and that is critical.
And the pace they're doing is high 108 and some 109s that we have seen at this stage. There is Brian Lockwood, 13th position, just calmly going about his race, trying to stay in the group. That's David Toth just in front. 13th is not bad at the moment for Brian Lockwood. That's exactly where he started in this race. But he would want to try and do the number one thing all sim racers do, Yartayan as well. Trying to give himself as much of a drive as possible. He's really done well, Kenneth, off that early stop. He's up into 7th.
Yeah, he's done a great job to put himself in this position and sort of piggyback off of what's going to happen in this second round of stops. So right now in P7, he's got Tamas Simon and Ben Fuller right in front of him, so he's definitely got an opportunity to strike as you look even further back to the field. A good look at the top drivers up to the top 10 with Marcus Jensen here in the 12. And for right now, Jake, it's going to be all about how you can gain position with the separation of drivers. Under pit stops, you're going to see everybody start to kind of flail away from each other. They spread about, and then as a driver, you just have to mentally focus on, number 1, your next pit stop, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, but number 2, what can you gain while you're on track as a driver? What can you gain in lap time? What can you gain in terms of maybe driving style? There's so many factors to go into it, and as you see a look at a couple of these drivers, you can tell just how different they drive these cars.
Oh, you certainly can. There is Valentin Mandanat, who is racing as the best of the white wool hard runners. Sorry, I'll correct myself there. With Przemysław Lemonek just in front. The focus here is very key right now. Those drivers, as they go through, as they charge, they have one idea in mind: get as far as they can to go through. There is Omar Bahar. He's got himself in the VR at this moment, Peter, and he's down there 22nd position, giving everything he can at this stage. He drives up the hill through Subida dos Boxes and over towards the start-finish line.
Absolutely. If you've never seen one of these bizarre contraptions which Mr. Beha has on his face at the moment, that basically puts you right in the heat of the action as if you were at the wheel of one of these Dallara IR01 machines. And once you get used to it, it is an incredible experience as well. As you can see, Andreas Henkel using the VR as well. But point on Valentin Mandernack, the number 46. I did think he had chosen the number 46 for a reason. Clearly a man after my own heart. Notice he had a Valentino Rossi replica helmet there in his sim room. I like it.
I like it as well, but all of the battling continues, and it's very interesting, Kenneth, to see how different drivers hold the wheel as they go through. You can see Henkel's got a firm grip of the steering wheel, all fingers on it, and you can see Sam Koiter is doing very much the same. But you saw Omar Bahar earlier on. He was almost like a ballerina, that karting style of just, dancing and feathering with the steering wheel.
And that's the magic of racing, and not only in real life, but in the sim world as well. You can just tell how different these drivers take to racing, how different they take to their sim setups, how they feel comfortable behind the wheel, and exactly how they can perform at the highest level behind the wheel. You see there with that camera right there, the one we looked at before, one of them had gloves, the other one didn't. They just like to be more casual. Some like to be more intimate with their sort of driving immersion, being in sort of that equipment to drive behind the wheel of the sim car. It's just a lot of fun to watch these drivers, how different they are here.
And let's just get a little bit of an understanding on money here, because this isn't just we're racing for the sake of racing. There is the payouts, 10,000 for the season in cold, hard cash for the winner. $300 per race for a win, and it's going to be very crucial. The Altai is back in the pits right now, so he is going to be getting his second stop sorted with 24 laps to go, and if he's on another set of mediums, which he is, I think he's three-stopping this race from this point onward. How is he supposed to make 24 laps work on a set of medium tyres? I do not know at this point in time, but it's payouts. That's 1, 2, and 3. That's 300, Peter, 200, and $100 right there on screen. $600.
Yeah, very, very big prizes here, thanks to the lovely folks at Force Dynamics as well. And this is something, the opportunity that virtual motorsport here on iRacing gives, which is something you don't really see in outdoor motorsport, which is cold, hard prize money as well. And that's why these teams put in so many hours of preparation to just maximize the strategy. You can tell that, for example, this Apex Racing outfit on screen right now, they have practiced endlessly every aspect of the performance, the race start, the pit stops, the tire strategy, everything, and obviously running close wheel to wheel as well. They will have that rehearsed to a T. But this other group, the B group, and I don't mean that in pace, they're on a different strategy. What are these guys going to do?
Matteo Ugolotti then was starting to drop on his tyres. He's come into the pits. He's bitten the bullet, and he's going to be out again on lap 29. We also have to note that out of the race now is Peter Zuber. He is now 7 laps adrift. He is out of the race on top of that. So this is going to be where we start to see those second stops come in and the gambles on the tyres. Kenneth, we said 20 laps you can just about go, and then they're going to be really hitting that cliff and starting to fall off. So this is what this group wants to see. Ugolotti's come out about 3 seconds behind Brian Lockwood. That is right in the wheelhouse of the leading trio, who were at the time about 3 seconds down the road from Matteo Ugolotti.
That's the target you want to hit. But you're looking at these drivers right now. A lot of them have taken different routes with the tires. We're seeing a lot of white walls here, especially in this group. That means these drivers are on the hards for this segment. A lot of drivers were on the mediums to start this race. Some are still in the mediums, going all the way to the end on mediums. Some are looking for softs in the final lap. So this final pit stop is going to be all about how you can change the tires, whether drivers are going to stick to a strategy on mediums, hards, or maybe go for the sprint in the final laps and get the soft tires underway. But I want to point something out about this group you're seeing right now. Valentin Mandernak, he had some complaints about understeer on the hard tires earlier on, so setups on hard tires just a little bit controversial with some drivers in the field. That's why you're seeing a lot of them stick to the mediums, where it seems as though they feel a lot more comfortable on this end.
And here's another thing as well. As this race goes on, this track is going to get hotter and hotter here, Peter, and that understeer is only going to exacerbate.
Yeah, and the grip will just get worse as this track gets hotter. What happens is it gets very, very greasy and slippy, and that's not really what you want in these very, very powerful cars. About 900 horsepower with 600 kilograms of weight, so they are seriously powerful, revving to nearly 20,000 RPM from those V10 engines. Now, with that track temperature climbing, we are now in the window where the Apex drivers could, if they wish to, come in and pit for a hard and go right to the end of the race. If they wish to, they have that option. Will they take it? We're about to find out.
Are they using Ben Fuller as a guinea pig because he's dropping down the order? He's just dived into the pits. And they can see here, battle for 6th, battle for 9th on screen, and the battle, of course, for the race lead. So you've got Berryman up there fighting Costantini and Johan Hart. That battle for 6th is Mandernak versus Jensen versus Lemonek. And then you've got that battle for 9th position, which is Toth, Quita. You've got Brian Lockwood there in the mix. This is all important because those gaps are key. You've got about 6 of drivers to try and get through, and that's what this lead group doesn't want to be in. At this current pace here, Kenneth, you'd expect maybe these drivers here, the front 3, to be diving in this lap, and if they do, they're going to be right with that battle for 8th place. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, all in formation, down into the pits. Oh!
You were called it. They were going into the pit lane. One of the Apex cars has a hard time getting on the binders to get to the pit road speed limit of a mere 45 miles per hour. And now it's going to be all about what these drivers behind them do. Obviously, these guys going to stay out this time by. That's Mandernak, Jensen, and Przemysław Lemonek, the 3 here that are going to keep themselves on track for the next time too. The second group also staying out in this case. But right now, what I'm seeing, Jake, in this case, is that the Apex drivers are all on hards for the final 20 laps of this race. We were probably expecting mediums or soft, but these guys are going the alternate route. We'll see how they figure out when they come back to the field.
Ugolotti's right with them here, and that's going to be crucial. We don't have it on screen right now. We've got that second group here, but Matteo Ugolotti is with this group. There's Johan Harth there, who has just about got himself through. Fortunate not to get a penalty after how much he had to hit the brakes on those tyres as he went right to the line and a bit more. Costantini, though, this is another crucial thing, Peter, has been leapfrogged in the stop by Berryman. They nearly collided on pit exit.
Well, as we know, there is, although they're running in slightly different liveries, they run out the same awning, if you like, the Apex Racing team. There is no team orders. They won't, as Johan Hart told us, they won't do anything silly, but they are allowed to race. They will not just run in flying formation. So we'll see how that one goes as well. But you've got to be very, very careful, though, because if you get into too much of a battle, you can run into the clutches of other drivers. We saw Van Lozenord, that happened to him as well. And Johan Harf runs the risk here of falling into the clutches of Ugolotti.
Certainly does. The SDK gaming car second in the group is going to be very crucial for that fact. There are your leaders right now as they go through, or I should say the battle for second place at the moment, because Tamas Simon is yet to come in and make a stop in the number 9 car. He leads this race for the first time in this series. Mandanak just holding behind Marcus Jensen and Przemysław Marek Lemonek. They're in 4th position at this point in time. This is where patience is going to be key. At what point does fuel saving become crucial? And Kenneth, you know, something we haven't talked about, drivers who go long enough and decide, I want to switch to the soft tyre, they've got the best chance in this race today of picking up that extra bonus point for the fastest lap, currently held by the driver in 14th place, Ben Fuller.
They definitely do, and with this track being a lot shorter, it's a lot twistier. You can get more out of the soft tires than you would, let's say, at Watkins Glen, or let's say at Spa that we visited just last week. This track is giving the opportunity, really, to the drivers that can go on soft tires, make that risk, and then just go for it. Go for all that you can. Go for positions, go for the fastest lap, and go for the extra points at this point. As you watch a move right to the Apex cars, that's Ugolotti on the mediums, as I should say, curving to the hard tire Apex team, and he is certainly making a spoiler out of the guys that were supposed to be in the race lead earlier before they made the stops.
Well, this is the key for Matteo Ugolotti right now, Peter. He's got the move done. He's got past Johan Harth. He's trying to use the tyres early to get himself ahead, and then when those tyres start to grain and put themselves in a really, really tough position, he's going to be in the worst place possible. He's going to be hemorrhaging that time. He's got to get through now, otherwise all of that strategy to go medium, medium, medium is for absolutely naught.
Yeah, you need to make the most of those tyres when you've got them on. So let's have a look at how Ugolotti made this move up into turn 1. So perfect example of the power of the slipstream. So Johan Harth absolutely defenseless here as well, as Ugolotti goes to the outside, then jinks to the inside here as well. He's got to go pretty deep on the brakes, which he does. He's got a little bit more grip now. Johan Harth decides not to fight it too hard, knowing that the race will come back to him as Tamas Simon back on pit road.
Yep, and that's from the race lead, which gives the lead to Valentin Mandanak out there at this stage. Ugolotti now through on Michele Costantini in the SDK gaming car. So that is another position that has been gained. Ugolotti running the gauntlet, some would say, at this point in time. And he's got an amazing run compared to Peter Berryman here. And you know what? Berryman lifted. Berryman just lifted Kenneth to let him have it. He knows he's not racing Ugolotti for this. He knows that his tyres are going to go. If not, he's going to have to pit again.
The smart move by Berryman right there, letting him know, hey, I'm not going to waste my stuff. I'm not going to waste my aggressivity on a driver that figuratively I'm not racing for the win. I've got the two behind me, Costantini, Johan Hart. I've got these guys to battle with at the end of the race. But with Ugolotti, you can just go by, you play your own strategy, because we know that we're going to be up there at the end of the race and that Ugolotti is going to be further back to the field. So a smart move right there by Berryman to not only let Ugolotti by, but to keep himself within his teammates as well.
And we've got some great scrapping here for this position, as how close to the wall do you want to take it if you're Brian Lockwood? He's managed to just make himself a move through into 4th. He's through on Koiter and David Toth as well. So that's crucial there for Brian Lockwood. He's now up into 4th, but this is the group that this next section are going to have to tangle with next, with 6 laps to go at Autódromo José Carlos Pache. This is the sort of battle that they do not want to be dealing with. The difference you are seeing in those laps right now is about a second from Ugolotti to David Toth over that last lap. So they're going to be all over them here, Peter, in the next 2 laps. And the question is going to be, how quickly are they going to go through? It's a 4-second gap to the leading trio.
Well, we're going to find out very soon as well. And interesting dynamic there as well with the number 98 of Ugolotti getting by on those mediums. He actually used to race for the Apex Racing team, raced in the iRacing GT World Championship actually with that group as well. So they obviously know each other relatively well. But we're coming into the last part of the race now. 16 laps to go. How are these tyres going to behave? Who has managed it the best? And with the increasing track temperature, tyre life's going to be very important indeed.
It certainly is going to be important, and we have been talking about fuel, how long you can go. You don't want to get tangled up here in these sorts of races, and it's going to be that tangling. You can see drivers trying to work out where is the right place for them to be put. On the back of the train now is Matteo Ugolotti, trying to be as aggressive as possible. Toth, though, knowing at this stage the best defense is a good offense, and he's immediately looking at the back of Sam Kuitert there and trying to work out, okay, do I need to try and make a move right now to cover off everything? This is now a 7-car train, and the longer that it stays like this, the more time you're going to lose. So this is going to be quite a crucial stage here, Kenneth, as this race reaches towards a conclusion.
Well, you know what they say in sports, defense wins championships, but it's the quite opposite here with Ugolotti. He has to really be aggressive on these 3 drivers up in front, and Lockwood, Kuiter, and Lemonek. So he has to really make these moves quick with 15 to go, or else maybe his strategy will be off for nothing. And speaking of which, strategy is going to matter here as the driver comes down pit road. That is David Toth of the 8 machine. We should expect the drivers up front, including guys like Lockwood, including Lemonek, including Jensen, and including your race leader, Valentin Mandernack, to hit pit road soon, because they're, of course, on the edge of that window. They need to make one more stop in order to get to the end of the race, and they should be expected to pit within the next couple laps as you watch 3 wide into the left-hander.
Wow, that got really intense. We're going to stay with this battle as it goes up the hill just for the swiftest of moments. Ugolotti trying the outside line. But if you want to get great action like this, you can log on today, iRacing.com. That's going to be so fantastic. For brand new memberships, you get 40% off as you go on by and get yourself your opportunity to try and become the next Valentin Mandernack, the best Ben Fuller that you can possibly be, the best Peter Berryman, Michele Costantini. That is what iRacing is all about. But some incredible action, and immediately sighting through, Ugolotti has got himself into a real position, Peter. Look at that, all over the curve as he tries to get through. In comes Jensen to make his pit stop. He's going to be followed in by Brian Lockwood, and Ugolotti now through on Kuitert.
Well, it's 13 laps to go. Marcus Jensen will be using at least a medium. I think it's a little bit too much of a stretch on the soft, but some of these drivers that have taken 2 runs on hards, maybe they might throw a risk on the soft, try and go for the glory, but hard to say. But Marcus Jensen is on hards coming into the pits, but we'll see what he comes out on.
He's on hards coming out of the pit. He's going to try and get things done. Lockwood on medium compound tyres, so that's the sort of understandings that we see at the moment. But Matteo Ugolotti's got himself through. That's crucial. He's trying to get himself all nicely sorted and just to break away, give himself as much time as possible. As you can see here on replay, this is how he tried to sort this out here as he goes towards the Ski de Lago. He's going to see it's too wide. I can't see it. I can't wait. Oh, you can't fit much more of a gap than that down that section. And he's very fortunate. They all left enough room there, Kenneth.
Well, I mentioned at the top of the show that this track is very narrow. We're going to see a lot of wheel banging action. It was an insane move right there by Ugolotti to make sure that he got it 3 wide, made the space, and didn't hit any other driver on the way there. Fantastic job by Ugolotti's driving style, and that pushes him up to second. But meanwhile, race leader, who he was catching at the moment, Valentin Mandernack, has hit pit road, and I believe we're expecting him on the medium tires this time by. Mandernack going to come out the pits this time, and we'll see exactly where the field shakes out.
That's a 3rd stop for Jarl Tyen, and that will be really frustrating. He goes on to the medium tyres on top of that, so his race is pretty much a write-off at this point. 3 stops did not work out. That's how points are scored in this series. 25 for a win, 21 for second, 18 for third, 15, 12, 10, and it goes all the way down to 15th place for one, and that one bonus point for fastest lap. That is going to be something that will matter towards the end of the race. Ben Fuller has that. You can tell he's got it because on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, his name is highlighted in purple. But right now, I think this is so interesting here. Koiter is completely holding station, and finally he decides to let off. He's going to dive into the lane. Now it's a straight-up dogfight between Ugolotti, Berryman, Costantini, and Harth.
And also, I tell you what, Van Lozenord right down in 19th position at the moment, not scoring points as things stand. And for Johan Harth, came into this race just 1 point behind Van Lozenord in the championship. And that would be a huge pull there for the number 90, Johan Harth, in the championship, and not what we expected coming into this round from Van Lozenord.
That's not what we've expected, but now you start to see that pressure cooker come into play. Peter Berryman, the Northern Irish driver from Belfast, is looking to try and get past Matteo Ugolotti in the 98. He's just trying to make sure that he's in the right position, and he doesn't want to be rash with the way that he makes this move. Yes, Przemysław Lemonet leads this race at the moment by 4.6 seconds at this point in time, but the key is how long Lemonet can go in comparison to these drivers. In fact, right now, he's just dived into the pits. So Ugolotti, this will be for the race lead here. Here comes Peter Berryman. He's not wasting any time in this one as he takes the race lead away here, Kenny. What a fantastic job.
He found the door, it blew wide open, and he said, all right, I'm entering the door, I'm kicking it in no matter what. And he made that pass immediately as he saw Lemonek hit the pit lane and said, all right, I'm out of here. Let me get my teammates with me. Here comes Costantini. There's Johan Harth, the team working together to get away from Ugolotti as fast as possible. This is the crucial pass, Jake, with 10 laps to go.
Oh, Kenneth, you're absolutely correct, as it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful move. 1, 2, and 3 straight through, and this is the trade and balances we were seeing earlier on in the race, Peter. How that medium tyre would allow you to go through in the early stages of the stop, but in the later stages of the stop, you saw exactly what has happened in that stint. You see those tyres are falling away from Matteo Ugolotti, and they are causing troubles out there for him. He's now dropping back into 4th position, and this might just be the podium slipping away. Good news, he's got 7 seconds though to 5th place Ben Fuller.
Yeah, once again, the Apex Racing Team Group really getting the strategy absolutely spot on with their blue and white ART cars and the black and silver SDK gaming car of Michele Costantini. And, well, who is going to get the honours now out of this trio? Well, Peter Berryman, he really needs that win, actually, after bits and pieces of hard luck so far.
Ugolotti then has seen the tyres fall away. There's no point doing anything rash. He's going to go and make a stop, and he's going to be back out and away. He's on a set of medium compound tyres to get himself back going again. Those are your front three we just saw there. So, yes, the medium compound tyres on. You can see it there as he goes through. You can see how much of a struggle it's going to be to get off of pit exit as you've got fresh tyres to try and make that challenge. But the top three here are now, once again, trying to work out what do you want to do for that victory. It was Costantini last time who got his win, and he got so, or did so, by getting the move done, of course, in the earlier goings with the likes of Ben Fuller and Johan Harth. The difference, though, is going to be Peter Berryman as we see this as they go through. The battle for ninth as well is going to be key as we look on the bottom screen, Kenneth, but at least at this point, we've got amazing racing. It's happening all over this circuit, and that's what we love. They battle all the way to the checkered flag in this series.
And you guys talked about how top 15 is going to matter when it comes to scoring points in this series. These guys are going to be battling for those points. Not only are you seeing the battle for the race win, which is going to give you the maximum amount of points that you can get in terms of running position, but even these guys for ninth, they're running for a sliver of a point to get themselves up within the standings. Let's say if they haven't had as great of a races in the first two, they can gain a lot of points here from Interlagos. So it matters all across the board from first all the way back to 15th, the first leg to the last leg. And you see fantastic running here between David Todd, that's Sam Quiter going for the move to the inside.
Yeah, easy move, easy move. He's got much fresher tyres, and he's using that to an advantage there. And clearly, he's got that one with a pinch of salt as well. His next chase will be Marcus Jensen in the number 12, who is in 8th position at this point in time. Your leading trio now, there's a little bit of a gap here to Peter Berryman. It's about 4 or 5 tenths of a second here, and that half a second, Peter, could be key for Berryman. He knows that in his 50, he's got to give himself margin on the final lap of this race. Otherwise, that draft's just going to be so powerful, and they're just going to monster on by.
Yeah, no, we were speaking to some of the drivers earlier in the week, and it was pretty, what should we say? We weren't able to draw a conclusion over whether you want to lead out the last corner or be the chasing car and draft by at the lane. That's very, very difficult to decide at this point in time. But Peter Berryman leading confidently with Costantini right on the back of him. Johan Harth, is he the danger man? Is he just keeping his powder dry as well? The hard tyres we've seen have been pretty consistent over a stint. Will they be the same here in this high track temperature at Interlagos? Well, we're about to find out. 7 laps to go, and Peter Berryman, he's the man who wants to get a big win on the board.
Berryman just looks like so confident. He's gritting his teeth almost a little bit as he goes through every corner, just making sure he's hitting his lines, knowing he has to with Costantini there behind, who's just sitting there quietly, just waiting for that chance. And you can see here there is no communication going on right now. They know they are in this race and they don't want to hear anything as they go through. This is just driver versus driver at this point in time. And Kenneth, this is the moment that they start scheming for that victory. If you've got ideals of victory, 6 laps to go right now, this is where you lay your battle plans out.
And this is exactly the point where you start to think, all right, here's what I'm going to do in the 5 laps. Here's how I'm going to get by. Here's how I'm going to get the slipstream and everything else in this case. And I was going to mention it, but we're going to get the replay here. There was contact between David Toth in the 8 machine and Brian Lockwood in the 43. You'll take a look at it on the bottom side of your screen in just a moment. These two were going side by side into the Senna S's. Looked okay for the moment, but then they make wheel-to-wheel contact, and Lockwood goes straight into the guardrail. But from him, he said, I died.
Well, from that angle, it doesn't look like very much, but in machine so quick and so powerful as these really, Peter, this is the sort of that is the sort of accident where it's just 2 wheels come together. You've got no margin on the outskirts of turn 2 to try and recover it because you've got that pit exit that you're going to go straight into.
I have to say, I'm surprised we haven't seen more incidents like that. You have to give a big, big plus to the drivers for not getting into too many pieces of contact because, as you said, these cars are so fast, they're very wide, and it's easy to just tangle wheels like we saw there. But that's been very much a rarity in this race, and that just proves the level of professionalism that we have in this championship.
It is worth noting as well that Ben Fuller is starting to drop back. You've got Mandanart in 4th, you've got Simon now in 5th, and Fuller now is back into 6th, and it could soon be 7th. Those leading trio, they are probably going to keep themselves as they are between that, and it's going to be something incredible at this stage towards the end of this race. They are trying what they can to get themselves home, but at least for the moment, we start to see those drivers now who made those late stops, Kenneth. They are really pushing through the order, and they are making those places.
Yeah, they definitely are. They need to be aggressive here, especially with some of them being on the mediums. You'll take a look at the bottom side of your screen. This is, again, the incident that we saw between David Toth and Brian Lockwood. Overhead, you see Lockwood goes for the inside move in turn 1. Seems to be okay, but it's right here as they come for that right hand, and they make several wheel-to-wheel contact, and the Lockwood just goes hard into the barrier. Absolutely nothing he could do, and unfortunate for him, he's going to be out of this race after starting 13th and after making some very good progress, Jake, to start this race. But he's going to be out of it, but it's all about these guys up front, how they can attack. And for the guys behind, they're going to be as aggressive as they can. It's all about position, and all that matters.
Yeah, a little bit obscured by the building there. Apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. But the top 3, 1, 2, and 3, 2 tenths between each of them right now as they go through Desquita del Lago and back up the hill towards Ferradura. The horseshoe corner here is right up the hill. It's a 2-part corner, this section through the Laranjina, and then over towards SA, this right-hander, which descends down the hill through the Pinarino and back up again towards the Bico de Pato, which is the wonderful overtaking place. If that's going to be a last gasp chance to go and make moves, I don't know what else is going to be. I'm sure these drivers have understood their role in this race, Peter. They know that they are in patience mode. They've got to try and move up, but I think the last place you want to be is 3rd position going on to the final lap. So it looks, as we take a look, the back of Berryman, the front of Costantini. I think the driver who needs to start moving right now is Johan Haas.
Well, when is he going to pull the pin as well? As we saw Michele Costantini getting a bit of a draft there from Berriman, but maybe not as much as we'd have seen in other things, but a little bit loose from Berriman as he asks for the power coming out of Curva de Sol. Just a little bit of a wiggle from the rear. So are those hard tyres, amazingly, are they starting to go away from the drivers right now?
And again, this is where focus is going to be. We've got Michele Costantini. He's just giving a little glance over at his relative as he goes up towards then this SA corner, turn number 7 out on the track. And now this middle sector becomes so very vital. They have kept themselves in pretty much single file, these three, all race long. They haven't been able to separate each other. Kenneth, it's like you've put a tow bar between them and they're towing each other through this entire race. There has been no separation this entire 51 laps from these three.
Well, Jake, certainly it's a trend that we've seen from the drop of the green flag over at Watkins Glen. At the end of these races, no matter what, you're always going to find a group like this, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 cars even, that are all in tow with each other. They're within a second, so they get the draft no matter what. And they're still relatively quick, so they stay within each other. And that's very dangerous if you're the driver in Peter Berriman. You're in the race lead. You know that there's about 2 laps to go in this event. So now you have to look in that rearview mirror even further and say, all right, Costantini and Harth are coming for the offensive. I need to find a brace for impact so I can at least hold on to the lead or take it back in the final lap.
The key, Peter, here was the way that Costantini took a different line through the final kink of that last lap. He gave himself room to say, I don't want all the draft yet. I'll take it on the final lap.
Yeah, that's very telling, isn't it? He's just showing himself in the mirror saying, I've got you, I'm here. And don't forget, though, these drivers will likely be connected by voice communication as well, or at least have a spotter who can get a message across. So that's something that's quite unique about the sim racing world compared to, say, Formula One, for example, where I don't think communication between teammate to teammate would necessarily be a good idea. The word teammate means something quite different in the sim racing context. As we come on to the last lap, who is going to pull the pin here?
Not yet. Watch for turn 4. That's the key. That's where Costantini's trying to set up to get the lead through towards the middle sector. They go through the Curva de Sol, but Peter Berriman has had a brilliant penultimate lap of this race, has built himself the gap. But if you're going to go for the move, now's the time to do it. Not going to get there, though. That's going to be frustrating for Costantini. He's now going to have to try and keep himself together through the middle sector of this lap. Johan Harth just sitting there behind in 3rd position, just waiting for a chance. If anything does happen, one small mistake, he's going to be there and he is going to be in the offing. For Peter Berriman, he said today on Twitter, he wanted to bounce back today. He wanted today to be his day, that he would come back and he would bring himself back into the title picture. He's doing so right now, and Costantini can't do anything to answer against him as they go through Junsao. Up the hill, a small mistake for Costantini. Johan Harth might have a chance here for 2nd position. Berriman starting to walk away. He's got his season back on track. He'll take the win. They'll try and fight for 2nd, and Costantini can't do it. Apex SDK, Apex 1, 2, and 3, Kenneth.
What a job by all 3 of these guys, for the SDK gaming driver and for, of course, the Apex Racing team here to work together, in this case, on the pit strategy, to work together track position-wise, to be smart as they were working through a lot of the drivers through the field that were cycling through those stops. And this ultimately pays off. The investment gives them the dividends, and it's Peter Berriman, first-time winner this season. What a job by him.
A great job and some great racing up and down the order. We saw how important it was just to stay calm, and ultimately we knew that they weren't going to put immediate risk in terms of this race, Peter, but a crucial race on top of that, because it again cements where they need to be, what results they're looking to hope for. And I tell you what will be agonizing, Van Loozenhoort has just come over the line in 16. He's getting no points.
Well, that is something we did not expect at all, but an absolutely flawless run from that leading trio for the Apex Racing and SDK Gaming teams. Just imperious and, to be honest, quite ominous for the rest of the field.
Certainly is. Peter Berriman, your race winner by 0.3 of a second. Then in the end, you can see as we go down the order, likes of Florian Lebegra there, Martin Van Loozenhoort, no points. That is going to be a real kick in the teeth, and that's going to be a very tough 25, 26 points to go and try and recover back later on in the season. A few retirees as well. Drives the lap down. Alejandro Del Campo falling a lap down. Then you can see the likes of Brian Lockwood's contact, his race over with 6 laps to the end. Kane Halliburton, Marcos Nunez, and Cedric Beale all in a bit of trouble towards the end of this race. But crucially, this has been a point of time that you say, right, you need to get as much as you can, Kenneth. You need to score those points early, give yourself a buffer for the end of the season. That's what we're seeing these drivers doing right now, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, these drivers certainly, with the amount of points that they gained tonight, and not only with that, with the performance that they put on the field, that means that they have certainly got it on track. And if they're building points like this early in the season, who's to show what they've got for Monza and the rest of the season throughout, how they can try and control the championship from here on out.
Absolutely. And of course, we've got our winner with us right now. He stood by, of course, with Peter Mackay.
Peter Berriman, welcome to the iRacing commentary box. That was an absolutely flawless run, not only from you, but your teammates. Did you guys expect to dominate as much as that?
Without being too cocky, I think, yeah. Based off the last race, especially with the strong result we had there, I think we knew coming into this that we'd have a really strong car. And as we've seen today, we're able to pretty much do the exact same as last week. So, yeah, super pumped for the boys, especially a big thanks to the guys there, you know. We could easily have fought amongst ourselves and had accidents and things like that. So, yeah, huge team result. So big thanks to those guys.
Yeah, what was what certainly stood out to me was the discipline that you guys have. You know, everybody wants to win. There's big cash prizes on offer, but you guys have got a great way of running in a formation which gives you such an advantage over the rest.
Yeah, I think obviously the guys in the team have huge respect for each other. I think the other thing to take into account is it's the early rounds of the championship. So, you know, I think if we keep doing this sort of thing, when we get to rounds 8, 9, 10, we'll maybe see the claws come out a little bit then. But I think we sort of respect and understand that, you know, we've just got to get points on the board and try and get all the cars to the end of the championship to get within a shot of having the wins there as well.
Well, it's certainly going up to plan up to now. This, of course, brings you right up there into championship contention. Well done on the win, Peter, and good luck for next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Second position in that race then went to Michele Costantini, stood by with Kenneth Bueno.
Here with last week's winner, Michele Costantini, comes home in P2 tonight from Interlagos Circuit. Michele, I know that this was ultimately a group effort. You in the middle of those Apex Racing team cars and Berryman and Johan Hart, you guys were able to stick together. And not only on that, but on the hard tires, which I don't think anybody really expected to have near the end of this race. Walk us through how you guys were able to do it.
Yeah, as you said, this is a great team effort. Really happy for a second 1, 2, 3 in a row. This is an incredibly good result for us. Yeah, we were actually, we knew there had to be a hard stint there in the race because of how hot the track temperature went up in the end. Yeah, we picked that before the race, and we decided that it would have been the best idea to go on the hards in the last stint, which is what we did, and I think what ultimately was the best strategy.
Well, the strategy seemed to work, but I want to talk about the first 2 races up until now. You got a win last week at Spa, second place tonight from Interlagos. What statement does this make about you as a driver to gain this momentum, to keep making these positions happen, and to ultimately get a grab of the point standings and try to go for a championship and $25,000?
Yeah, it's a great consistency, I would say. It's quite early to talk about the championship still, but yeah, I guess I'm in a good position. Got good momentum heading for the next rounds, and yeah, the next race is my home race, even it's Monza. So hoping to do well there. But yeah, no, this is just a great result for the team. I'm really happy, and yeah, really, the main thing I can say here is thanks to all the guys that have been working on this, because this is just a great result for us.
You know what they say, teamwork makes the dream work. Congratulations, Michele, on this second place finish here tonight from Interlagos. Wishing you the best of luck. We'll be head for Italy and Monza next week.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's been a great result so far this season for Johan Hart. 3 podiums out of 3, stood by with Peter Mackay.
Johan, welcome to the iRacing.com commentary box. Another flawless performance from the Apex Racing team. I think certainly the most dominant so far. How was it from your driver's seat?
That was pretty good. Yeah, as you said, so far a pretty flawless season from pretty much all the guys. We had, of course, a few problems at Watkins and Spire in there, but yeah, amazing job from everybody. Ben had an unfortunate spin in the first stint, but I'm pretty sure if he didn't spin, would have been an easy 2, 3, 4 block the top 4. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That is certainly a positive thing. That is for sure. Johan, well done on another super drive, and I think that puts you into the championship lead. So well done, and all the best of luck for next week.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, we're in important stages here. 1/3 of the way through the championship coming up, and it's now all eyes as we go to the outskirts of Milan. It will be Monza next time out for round 4 of the championship, which will be 1 week from now. But, you know, Kenneth, you put yourself in this position. You get 3 very important races. This is the Monza circuit coming up. It's fast, it's high speed. It's going to be one which I'm sure that is going to be even more draft dependent than any other circuit on the calendar.
We had the Glen, we had Spa, and now we get fast old Monza. Beautiful track over in Italy, and one that's going to bring us a lot of fun, Jake, when we go there in 1 week time. October 7th, we're going to have so much fun there. The strategy's probably not going to be as hectic as it was today, but you mentioned it, slipstream, draft, and high-speed intensity action is what we're going to look forward to, and that's another unique challenge for the championship. These drivers are going to have to adapt. We'll see who becomes the winner.
And this is going to be a track, Peter, that is going to throw up some differences because you're spending 80% of the time full throttle. You are going to see some different drivers up at the front trying to get themselves those all-important points to try and kickstart their season, albeit, you would say, at round 4, a little late.
Well, we've certainly seen a couple of incredible finishes at Monza over the generations. A lot of big slipstream battles, and it's going to be very important at Monza. And I think Kenneth is absolutely right. We're going to see so many different characters at the front of the race. It's going to be one not to miss in a week's time.
Absolutely. You cannot sense yourself into a better position. We've got everything that you want and a bit more. This is iRacing. This is the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. And right now, Peter Berryman, Johan Haas, and even Michele Costantini as well, they're starting to prove that they have got the stranglehold on this series. And it's up to everybody else to step up their game. They've set the bar. Now you've got to jump over it because they said how high. This is where it goes. It's to the outskirts of Milan, and pay your tithing. The Temple of Speed comes up next week.